How are you tonight?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm wonderful. Thank you for asking. So you ready to get started?
Yes, I'm so, yeah. But actually, can I grab some
Awesome.
paper?
Yeah, go right ahead. Go right ahead. Take your time.
Alrighty. Thank you so much.
Okay. No problem. Look, let me, so what I like to do first is I like to get to know you, where you are in regards to your studies, what's going on, the good, the bad, the indifferent. Okay. I like to know all that kind of stuff. Also want to know what you want to get out of tonight. Like if you say, you really need to go over freehold estates, whatever the case may be, I want to make sure that I touch on all those topics. Okay.
Okay.
So talk to me. Tell me a little bit about, like I said, what's going on, what your struggles are. Like I said, what you feel is going right. Also, how much you're studying, if you're getting any test anxiety, that kind of thing.
Well, yes, I absolutely do get test anxiety. I think that's one of my biggest struggles. I kind of freeze up and I get nervous. And I already took the test once. And I mean, I was so nervous that I wasn't even able to take my Indiana State because I accidentally exited out. It
Oh
was,
boy.
yeah, it was to that point. But I also didn't feel as prepared as I do now. As far as studying goes, I've been studying. I took the test July 9th, and Tuesday I take it again. So between then, I've just been studying a little bit every day, but these past few days, I've just been studying for hours on end.
Okay, that's not great.
I know.
Studying hours on end.
I
Because
know.
listen. There's a couple things that you have to understand. There are two reasons people fail the test. There are two reasons. Two. The first one, they have no knowledge. The knowledge is not there. So let me ask you, how much did you fail by on your test? Obviously, you said you didn't take the state portion,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, unfortunately not. Um, but I I did not do very good. I needed a 60 to pass, but I got a 42. 42 correct answers.
Okay. So, you know, obviously skipping a large portion of it, that's,
Yeah.
just going to factor into it. But also, what you need to do is this. So there's two things. With that kind of score, I think there's a lot of anxiety at play, especially if you couldn't physically complete the test, right? Like that's
Yeah.
like
So
at
embarrassing.
that point, here's the problem. At that point, you're running into a situation where what you need to do is you need to really focus on mitigating your anxiety. So if you took all the time that you spent on studying for the test and you spent half of that going to YouTube and going, whatchamacallit, and saying, oh, I'm going to, I'm going to look up how to mitigate my test anxieties, like how to make it so that, I don't have all the anxiety that I have right now. How do I do that? You would probably do yourself some good, because
Yeah.
there's a lot of things that you could do. So when I always tell my students that are taking the test fairly soon after our session, there's things that we can do today. There's things we can't. We cannot create a comprehensive study plan for you,
Yeah.
right?
I know.
So what we're going to do though is work on some of the knowledge gaps that you might have, and
Okay.
also talk about, like I said, mitigating that anxiety and stress, because that's honestly probably lowest hanging fruit for you. That's
Yeah.
probably easy. I always tell students, if you could get through the stress and anxiety of it, that's typically 5 or 6 points. I mean, like easy. Like you don't have to put any more stress, any more knowledge in your head. You could easily get 5 to 6 more points if what you do is you actually sit there and, again, mitigate that stress and anxiety. So what I'm going to tell you to do, number one, is to take some of the time that you've earmarked for yourself to study for the exam. And I want you to go through so go to YouTube and do this. Type in, whatchamacallit, type in, how to relieve stress from tests before tests, test anxiety, managing test anxiety, stress relief. So listen, because you're not the only one, but here's what I'm going to tell you. You probably haven't spent the time. Like if you take a look at all the time you've spent on working on this test, you probably spent 99.8% of your time worrying about your knowledge and 1% of your time even thinking, oh, maybe I have to figure out how to work my anxiety out.
Yeah. And the thing is, I don't have anxiety until last time I know I wasn't prepared. I know I wasn't. And I think that's what also really freaked me out is because I went in there with a bad mindset, and I was actually walking in still looking at Indiana State law type, Indiana State stuff that.
Yeah, that's something else I tell my students all the time. Listen to what I'm going to tell you. Listen, nothing good, nothing, zero, zilch, nada good comes from you sitting there and going, oh, let me go look at more flashcards.
Yeah. Oh my God, I know.
No, because here's what happens. Here's what happens. You look at a flashcard and you go, okay, what's that? And then you go, oh my God, I don't know that. And then you go, oh my God, I don't know that. So what else don't I know? Okay, so if I don't know that, oh my gosh, how am I going to pass this test? And that's just, you spiral. You spiral out of control. And that is, you're putting yourself behind the 8 ball. Basically, you're getting to a situation where you're not setting yourself up for success. You're not setting yourself up to pass the exam. Nothing, okay? Nothing. And listen, you need to set yourself up for success as best as possible. And that is a way to quickly not set yourself up for success. So what I tell my students before test, listen to stand-up comedy, listen to music, whatever puts you in a great, fantastic, wonderful, amazing, super duper mood, do that, okay? Do that, okay? So that is my advice in regards to the test anxiety, okay?
Thank you. I'm definitely going to look up that on YouTube.
Yeah, and listen, like some things that I do, so I'll tell you some stupid things with me because I before I did all of my stuff online, and I started doing this with like PrepAgent when COVID hit, and basically Joe had been in communication with me for years. He's like, when are you going to come work for me? When are you going to come work for me? And I was traveling across the country training and teaching agents. I was like, yeah, no, I'm traveling, I'm good. And then finally COVID hit, and I was like, hey, I think I need to sit at home and not go anywhere. And so what happened was this: I would give public speeches, and I would train, and I would do keynote speeches for rooms. I think the largest audience I've ever been in front of was 4,000 people.
Holy cow!
So, yeah. And here's the thing: I love.
I don't know how you do that.
Yes. Yeah. Like my wife says to me, she goes, "How do you even?" And I said to her, I said, "I get really excited," and she goes, "How?" And I say to her, I get excited to the point that I actually have to slow myself down, and I have to relax a little bit. So what I actually do, like it's really stupid, but I actually put lavender oil on my wrist or on the back of my thumb. So what happens is, if you ever see me in a video when I'm speaking in front of a large group of audience, like when I feel myself speeding up and getting too fast, what I do is I'll rub the back of my thumb to my nose, and I have lavender oil on it. So what happens is that kind of calms me, and it helps. And it's something stupid, but it works really well.
I mean, if it puts you in a good, solid, remote spot, I mean, just to settle, that's what I need to do. I need to put some type of
It's
oil.
what it is. What it is this. And here's the thing. Maybe you sit there and you go, oh my God, yes, that's what I need to do. Like, I need to get that. Like, you need to sit there and look at, aromatherapy. Because sometimes, and some people, like my wife hates scents. So like, she would never, ever put a scent on her thumb and be like, oh, that's my go-to. Like for her, she would probably rub her temples. She would probably, do deep breathing and do things like that that'll help with the anxiety, but never something with scent. So that's why you want to really look at and spend some time thinking about what's going to help you. Okay. Another test taking tip, smile at the test. Smile. Why? Because you don't smile while you're taking the test, and that automatically quickly alleviates a lot of stress.
Yeah.
Automatically. As soon as you smile, releases tension, releases endorphins, all that kind of stuff, all that wonderful, happy stuff. All those things happen. Check. Another thing, we're going to go in and we're going to do questions. And here's what we're going to do. This is how we're going to play the little question game.
Okay.
Can you see my screen?
Yes.
We're going to do a national a master exam. Okay? And when we do the master exam, what I want you to do is I want you to tell me what you're thinking. You don't have to read it out loud to me because you can't read it at the testing center. So I don't mind if you can't read it out loud. If you're like, yeah, no, I'm not going to do that. But what I want you to do is this. I want you to do the question as if you were, as if you were
Sitting
at
there.
the testing center, and tell me what you're thinking and tell me what your thoughts are so that I could help you make sense out of the question. Okay? So that I could help you through it. All right? So let's do this. Let's start and let's get the show on the road.
All right. Any advanced fee contract in connection with real estate. B.
Think B as in boy?
Yeah.
See.
Nuts.
So let's look at this. Okay, you ready? So what we're talking about is this. So any advance fee contract used in connection with the real estate or business opportunity listing must include all the following except.
Oh, except. See, I. Oh my God.
Listen to me. You ready?
Yeah.
Here's what I need you to do when you're at the test. So listen, I didn't hear you read it out loud, so I'm going to guess the speed at which you're reading it, and let me read it to you the way that I think you're probably somewhere around the speed that you're reading.
Okay.
Any advance fee contract used in connection with the real estate or business opportunity listing must include all the following except. Now, I'm going to read it at the tempo I want you to be at. Home base for you. Just the tempo I need you to be at. So, any advance fee contract used in connection with a real estate or business opportunity listing must include all of the following except.
Okay.
Here's what that tempo is.
Yeah.
You're reading a book to a child.
Yeah.
The cow jumped over the moon. Did you hear that? How it was just a real nice rhythm that I was in?
Yes.
And didn't it sound better when you heard it the second way than the first way?
A lot better.
And you were probably reading it the first way, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Close to it.
I mean, I went
Yeah.
so fast I forgot the word accept.
Well, so here's what happens is the reason I tell you to be at the tempo that I want you to be at is so that you read every word so that you don't miss an accept. You don't miss a word like that, right?
Yeah.
You don't do something like that.
Like a
So,
not or,
yeah. So like, because here's the thing, that changes the entire complexion of the question.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
So now do you understand why A is the right answer?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
You know, I would love to be able to guarantee that a sale would take place, but you know, yeah, my clients would love that guarantee too. That's not happening.
Yeah.
So let's look at the next one.
Okay. An appraiser has been employed to estimate the market value of a parcel of vacant land. The resulting appraisal report would not include reference to the highest and best use of parcel. C.
Okay, C.
Oh, geez.
An appraiser has been employed to estimate the market value of a vacant land. So let me tell you this. Let me ask you, what is the difference between market value and market price?
Market value is what the estimate value would, what the house is comparable to. I mean, what
So the
you
market value is what the house is comparable to?
No, I said that wrong. Okay, so the market value is an estimate of what your house could be put on the market for, and the market price is what it's listed for.
Market price is what it sells for.
Yeah.
That's it. So
Okay.
you have it right.
Okay.
You have it right. Perfect. That's very good. Next one.
When a situation is such that damages would not provide an adequate remedy, in the case of a breach contract, a suit for a specific performance could be successfully brought by all of the following except when a situation is such that damages would not provide an adequate remedy, in the case of a breach of contract, a suit for a specific performance could be successfully brought by all of the following except the seller of a condominium. C.
Okay. So let's look at this. Let's look at this. Don't beat yourself up. No.
Okay.
When a situation is such that damages would not provide an adequate remedy. So when a situation is such that damages would not provide an adequate remedy, in the case of breach of contract, a suit for specific performance could be successfully brought by all of the following except. So what is a suit for specific performance? Tell me what that is.
Suit for that is when someone doesn't fulfill their part of the contract, so you can sue someone to finish it.
Perform. Yeah, you could sue someone to perform. So the two parties that could sue for specific performance are the buyer and the seller, the people who are parties to the contract, right?
Yeah.
So
the principal is being represented by attorney in fact would, yeah, not be that. I think my
they
problem
could.
sorry, go ahead.
So watch this. You ready? Ready? Watch this. So an attorney in fact is someone who has power of attorney. Power of attorney is a way that you get attorney to become an attorney in fact. So let's say I'm an attorney in fact for my grandparents, and my grandparents were selling the home, right? And then the buyer just backs out, and I say, no, you have to buy this home. I could sue for specific performance on behalf of my grandparents. I could sue the buyer for that.
Okay.
Do you see what I'm saying? Do you see what I'm saying? So that's definitely not an exception. But a real estate broker acting as an agent, they can't sue for specific performance.
Yeah. Yeah. Because,
does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah, it does.
All right.
I think what my issue is I like psych myself out about the questions. Like when I read them, I don't understand.
Yeah, I know you psych it.
You know what?
Listen to what I'm going to tell you about the not understanding portion.
Okay.
A lot of people have that issue where they go, oh, I don't really get what the question's asking me. So let me give you a hint. Let me give you a way that how I figure it out.
Okay.
I picture that my best friend is at the test with me, and we're sitting down and we're taking the test together. Okay. My best friend is a cartoon character. Literally, he's a cartoon character. I could be sitting in a room, totally serious. And I remember at my wedding, we were up at the altar at church, okay? And he was one of my groomsmen, so he's standing right there with me. He was making funny faces at me the whole entire time while the priest is saying a sermon. And I'm looking at him and I'm like, I'm going to kill you after this. But that's my best friend, okay? And I think that everyone's best friend is kind of like that, where they're going to put them in that kind of state of mind, where they're going to be like, okay, yeah, they're awesome. I have a really good understanding. And I'm relaxed. Whenever I'm thinking about me sitting down with my best friend, I'm relaxed. So, situation is this. Picture you're taking the test with your best friend. If you don't know a question, if you don't know or understand a question, what I want you to do is I want you to picture that you're taking the test with your best friend. It's a practice exam. This doesn't count. Doesn't matter. And your best friend says to you, hey, I don't understand what they're asking. Can you help me with that? Because a lot of times then what you would do is if your best friend was sitting with you and you were taking a practice exam with them and studying with them, you'd say, okay, let's see if we can figure out what they're trying to ask, right? That's literally verbatim the exact thing that I would say to my best friend if we were sitting down taking a practice exam. I'd say, hey, what are they, whatchamacallit? What are they, what are they asking, right? Yeah. What are they asking? So that is really what you have to do to try to understand that. So take a look at this one.
Mr. Seller signs an open listing on his home with 5 different brokers. In this case, each broker has an opportunity to earn the entire commission. The brokers will split the commission. Open, the owner must pay full commission to no. The owner must pay the first broker to take the listing no matter. So it would be A.
Yes. So each broker has an opportunity to earn the entire commission. Makes sense, right? Yeah. So let me ask you, what is an exclusive agency listing?
One brokerage. So you hire one broker to do it. There's 2 types.
One broker, right? So let's see. Let's take a look and see. Okay. So that is definitely one brokerage. So exclusive agency is one brokerage. However, why don't you tell me, it is one brokerage. However, tell me a little bit more about that. Is it just one brokerage, or do we need to know more about an exclusive agency listing?
with the exclusive agency listing, it's one brokerage, but the seller can sell it on their own without having to pay the person or the broker.
Yeah. So listen to what I'm going to tell you. You have a lot of great knowledge. You have a great foundational knowledge base, right? Like you really do. Like you're very strong with that. You need to wrangle in your anxiety.
I know, it gets the best of me, but honestly, I'll tell you what, I watch you guys. I'm PrepAgent all the time, and I saw your tutoring session with one of your students, and I watched the whole entire thing. I was like, I need to talk to this guy. So.
Yeah, because I'll tell you this. A lot of times, people look at the sessions and they're like, hey, and I do a lot of the same stuff. I talk about a lot of the same things because guess what? People need to hear. They need to hear. They need to hear. Hey, this is what it is. This is what the story is. And yeah. And what happens is this. It will help you get to a point where the tutoring, all this stuff is just tools in the tool bag. But one thing you have to do is you have to identify that the anxiety is one of the largest hurdles for you. Understanding the question, what it's asking, is another huge hurdle for you. Slowing down the question is another huge hurdle for you. You need to work on those things. If you do not, you will not have success. You will not have success. Yeah. Period. End of story. Hard stop. Done. You will not have success in regards to the test if you do not capitalize on and make sure that you are working on those things, right? Because those are your issues right now. Those are your issues. Those are your issues. That's in my opinion. Because I don't think that any question that you had here that you got wrong, that you got it wrong because you didn't know it.
Yeah.
That's the whole thing.
Yeah, it's seriously, I mean, okay, go.
Let's look at this one.
Okay, all right. An appraiser uses the gross rent multiplier. Using the gross rent multiplier, or consider which of the following. Gross is price divided by rent. A.
Let's see. Yeah. So the gross rent multiplier. So the gross rent multiplier, what that is it's basically a numerical representation of the relationship between the sale prices of known sold properties and their rental income. That's really what it is. Because what happens is it's typically when you have multiple properties that aren't exactly the same. So what happens is it would be very hard. There would be a lot of adjustments if you had to adjust them. So what people do is they go, okay, let us, what we're going to do is this. We're going to, put a, we're going to find out what the gross rent multiplier would be, and then use that to come up with a value for the property. And they use that in the income approach. Okay. So let's look at the next one.
Okay. If a note is taken as earnest money, it is in the seller's best interest to have a note paid for. B.
You say B? So what is a note? What's a promissory note? Let's talk about this.
Okay. It's a a note saying that you have debt and you're going to pay it, or right?
Okay. So yes. Okay. So you know exactly what a note is.
Yeah.
Listen to what I'm going to ask you.
Okay.
Why do you say that it's in the seller's best interest to have it paid at closing?
Oh, I don't know.
Here's the thing. You're picking that as the answer.
Well,
So what I'm saying to you is, you know what the question, what the definition is. So explain to me why that's in their best interest.
it's not. And if a note is taken as earnest money, for some reason, when I see sellers and buyers, like sometimes I know what the two differences are. One's a seller, one's a buyer, but they get confused in my head as I'm reading the question. So it is in the seller's best interest to have a note payable probably on the first baking day after the buyer takes within upon the seller's acceptance.
See, what happens is, now I'm making you think about it, because what happens is, you see how it's, so here's what I'm going to tell you. I'm going to make a very simple observation.
Okay.
It is very easy to pick an answer when you have to defend that answer as to why it is what it is. Do you see how that makes you think a little bit more?
Yeah.
Because you need to slow it down. And remember, I'm saying it all the time. You have to slow it down. So here's the thing. You know what a promissory note is. You've shoved that information into your head. You've done all that hard work. And now what I'm asking you is, come up with, why is your answer? Why is the answer that you were ready to have me click? Why is that the best answer?
Yeah. I need to ask myself this question while I'm taking the test.
But well, here's the thing. It's very easy to sit there and picture me sitting there, or your best friend saying, so what is a promissory note? And then you say, okay, a promissory note is this. Okay, so why is that? And picture them asking you, so why did you pick that answer? I don't know. And then go through this thought process, because here's the thing. I'm not, little hints right here, I'm not giving you any knowledge right now. There's no knowledge. But here's the thing, I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm not. Like, I haven't told you one bit of information here. I've simply said, all I did, and I didn't say that answer that you picked was not right or wrong. I'm just asking you why you're choosing that. This is something that you could literally picture someone saying that same thing in your head at the test, saying, why are you picking that answer?
Yeah. Oh, man. Okay. So it would be in the seller's best interest to have a note payable upon the seller's acceptance.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, you knew it too. You're like, oh, you don't want that one.
Well, because think about it. It's in the seller's best interest to have it paid as soon as possible.
Yeah.
As soon as possible. Have that paid off. Turn that into money, honey. Don't mess around. Turn that into money.
Yeah.
Right? So.
And that was such a simple question that so you obviously
I know.
You see what I'm going through. I have battles in my head right now.
Well, again, what you have to understand, and I think that this also will help your confidence. You have to understand, number one, I didn't give you any information,
Yeah.
right? And like that's the truth. I gave you no information, okay? Then, after I've given you no information, okay, I also have not given you, I have not given you any situation where, you've gotten really, bottom line is this. If all it takes for you to really understand things is to say, hey, this is what it is, and this is, whatchamacallit, and let me just rethink it. Let me just retool it. If that's all it takes to get the right answer and the information's all in your head, then picture me, your best friend, sitting there saying to you, what is a promissory note? Okay, why'd you choose that answer? That's easy. That's so easy. That's simple stuff. I mean, if that doesn't take anything, listen, you can take the rest of the weekend off and just do that. If you implement simple things, here's the thing, and that's why I said to you, if you implement some of the things that you haven't focused on, like doing that, relax, take some of those best tips and tricks in some of those YouTube videos and things like that, and see what works for you. You know, you might be lathering yourself up with lavender oil before you go in there, just being like, come on, I gotta relax. You know, like stuff like that. So let's take a look at this one.
Okay. Which transaction requires a securities license? Oh, shoot. Securities license. I had to go back and look, right? Leasing a commercial building, selling a commercial warehouse. I'm going to be honest, I don't know what a securities license is, but if I had a guess, I would say selling shares in Fannie Mae.
Yeah, well, great freaking guess. Let's talk about what securities are, okay? Securities and securities exchanges and things like that. Securities is stocks, bonds, shares, okay? So whenever I say, hey, I have a securities license, okay, that means that you have a stockbroker's license, that you could sell stocks, shares, bonds, things like that, okay? That's a securities or an exchange license. So that was, listen, good guess, but that's the right answer. So good.
All right. A tenant's lease has expired, but the tenant has not vacated the premises or negotiated a renewal lease. The landlord has not given the tenant permission to remain in the building. This situation is an example of tenancy at sufferance.
Tenancy at sufferance. Yeah, absolutely. Tenancy at sufferance. Absolutely fantastic. So let's look at the next one.
Ooh, which of the following is not an example of police power? Rental control or rent control?
Rent control. Let's see. Are you sure?
No.
Are you sure on that one? Think about that one. Think about that for a second.
Which of the following is not an example of police power? Zoning is. Building codes are. Hold on. I'm thinking in my head what. Declaration of restrictions. Declaration of restrictions.
Declaration of restrictions.
It's gonna be wrong. Oh, see.
Right. Listen to me. Listen to me. Listen to me.
All right.
What you're going to realize is this, okay? The Declaration of Restrictions basically is going to give you an opportunity to really. Declaration of Restrictions is like a deed restriction, right? It's a deed restriction.
Yeah.
So when it comes to, the Declaration of Restrictions, all this kind of stuff, it's something that, yes, you're basically talking about deed restrictions. All the other things, zoning, rent control, building codes, all police power. All police power. Because who else would control rent control?
Yeah.
Think about it. If it's not the government, who else is controlling it?
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. So
I'm gonna have you in the back of
going.
the head next to me saying, why'd you choose that?
Well, yeah, because what it is this. If it makes you stop for a second, because here's the thing. There's some people that take too long. Like I had a student earlier in the day.
Yeah.
She actually ran out of time twice. And I said to her, I said, okay, you need to make a decision and you need to stick with it. Like I was not telling her, slow down. You need to slow down. So that's why I'm saying you need to do that. You need to slow your information down. So that is, that's the story there. So let's take a look at this one.
Okay. Typically, when leasing real property, a commission of a leasing agent is based on the percentage of monthly rent.
Take a look and see.
I knew I was wrong.
Total rents collected. So listen to what I'm going to tell you. What if, you ready?
Yeah.
Let me give you an example. So I traveled to Ocean City, Maryland, Isle of Palm, South Carolina, travel all these places. And I usually rent a week-long rental in one of those situations. So if it was a week-long rental, would that leasing agent's commission be based on the monthly rent?
No, the total rents.
Okay.
I was between those two, but I don't. Usually, it's based on the total. Any commission is based on the total. So I don't know why I do that. I know the information.
Because here's the because okay, let's call a spade a spade. Because most rents, okay, are going to be that of, have some sort of monthly component, right?
Yeah.
Most rents, like 85% of them are going to have a monthly component, okay? So what happens is you're thinking very logically, hey, it's going to be based off the monthly rent, right? But then what happens is I just threw out a scenario that's very okay, here's the thing. Because of where you are, you basically probably are not thinking that. If you lived in a vacation town, like if you lived in a vacation rental town, you'd be thinking like, oh yeah, sometimes it could be a weekly rental. Like you would definitely think that. Like if you were in Ocean City, Maryland, like I said, South Carolina, portions of South Carolina, Myrtle Beach, you'd be like, oh yeah, not every rental is monthly, but like because of where you are, you're like, hey, monthly rents are what's the common thing. So yeah, that's what I'm thinking of. But the better, more encompassing term is that it's the total rents collected for the term of the lease.
Yeah.
So that's the answer right there. So
it makes
next
sense.
one. Yeah, of course it makes sense. It makes perfect sense. Yeah.
The income capitalization approach to value will be most important in the appraisal of the office building.
Office building. Let's see. Yeah, absolutely, 100%. No need to even go over that. Perfect.
Which of the following could not be real property? Could not be real property. An existing mortgage.
Yeah, that kind of seems like a totally, it seems like whatchamacallit, totally different from all the other ones, right? So.
Yep.
Let me ask you this. Mineral rights, can they be sold or leased independent of the real property?
Yes.
Okay, yeah.
So the mineral rights, don't you, you have to like obviously get them. You don't just, it doesn't just come with the property. You have to apply and try to get your mineral rights, right?
Okay. Let's time out here. You ready?
Yeah.
Unless, listen to what I'm about to say.
Okay.
You, as a property owner, you own the mineral rights to your property unless they have subsequently been sold or leased prior to your ownership. Unless they have been already leased or sold, you own them.
Okay. Unless they recorded it, right? Or would that even?
Well, unless they've been, well, listen. You're going too much into it, thinking too hard. Okay? It's much easier. Unless they have been sold or leased, you own them.
Okay.
Period. Hard stop.
Hard stop.
Okay?
We're stopping there.
Yes. Unless they are sold or leased, you own them. Stop. Okay. Next one. Let's see.
The unit of comparison when using the market data approach to appraise a single family residence is the unit of comparison. The entire property.
Entire property, absolutely, 100%. They're going to consider the entire property. Okay. In the cost approach, what they do is they take the building, right, and they find out the reproduction or replacement cost, and then they add in value of the land. Whether it's, and also, let me ask you this: does land depreciate?
Land? No.
Land never depreciates.
No.
Does it appreciate? Does it appreciate?
Does it appreciate?
Yeah.
No. I mean, yeah, does it? I don't know. I don't know that answer. No one's ever asked me that one.
Yeah, because everyone always tells you land never depreciates, and then all of a sudden you hear the question. You basically are hearing this. You hear land never depreciates, but then I ask you, okay, so then does it appreciate? The answer is yes.
It does.
Okay. It 100% appreciates. Okay. So that is the answer right there. Okay. It definitely does appreciate. Okay. So that is the answer there.
Okay.
Next one.
An adjustable rate mortgage, an ARM, would be a good choice for all of the following, except a buyer who plans to live in the property under 6 years.
Okay, let's see. Anyone on fixed income. So listen to this. Listen to this. If you are on a fixed income,
okay,
whatchamacallit, an adjustable rate mortgage is going to be awful for you because it adjusts, right? It adjusts. Yeah. So that's the situation right there. Okay. So bottom line is this: an adjustable rate mortgage adjusts. So because it could potentially go up, okay, because it could potentially go up, that's why someone on a fixed income, it's not going to be good for them, right?
Yeah. How are they going to come up with that money if it's fixed?
Right. So a buyer who plans to live in a property under 6 years, guess what? It might be good for them because what happens is an adjustable rate mortgage, they might be willing to take out, they might have a more favorable rate at the beginning, and then what happens is it adjusts in like 7 to 8 years. But they're like, I'll never see the adjustment period, so it doesn't matter. I'm just going to take out this low rate. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, and it's funny that, okay, so when I was in my class, my teacher, I mean, he wasn't very good, and that's fine, but he did say an adjustable rate mortgage is good for anyone who plans on not staying somewhere long. And I skip the word accept again. It's like it doesn't register. I literally said a buyer
because you need to read the question slower. Because listen to what happens too. Listen to this. I'm going to tell you a problem that people have. The problem people have is this. They see the whatchamacallit. They read a question, and then when they start getting like a couple right, here's what happens is you'll start off slow and good and reading the question really good, and then you'll feel like you got 1 right, 2 right, 4 right, and then all of a sudden the speed that you're going at, you started at 40 miles per hour, now you're going 75. You ever get on the highway and you just start, and all of a sudden you look at the speedometer and you go, oh dear God. That's exactly what happens. You have that tendency to speed up. I know because I used to drive a BMW. I had a BMW sports car when I first got into real estate, okay? I traded it in for a Honda Civic. The fancy cars are overrated. And I know because what happened was I would literally be driving on a highway out here in New Jersey, and I would sit there, and all of a sudden, I'm driving on the highway, look down at the speedometer, and I go, oh my God, 90. Okay, yeah, we got to slow down.
Yeah.
So same thing when you're reading a question.
Okay.
You know, you're going to run into the same problem. So let's keep going.
To accurately calculate a gross rent multiplier, what data would an appraiser obtain from comparable properties? C, annual rent and selling price.
Okay. Yeah, we said that's what gross rent multiplier is. It's the relationship between the sale price and that annual rent.
Yeah. If an appraiser is estimating the value of a property using the cost approach, which of these describes what the appraiser should do? D, estimate the replacement cost of the improvement.
Yeah, 100%. Okay, 100%. So, see how, and slow it down. Just keep it nice and slow.
Yeah, okay. Which of the following must be done before placing a for sale sign on a listed property? B, obtain the property owner's consent.
Obtain the property owner's consent.
But
Yeah.
get the neighbor's permission.
So, which
and it threw me off, so I was like, I know it can't be the last two.
Listen. You have to get the property owner's consent. And what's funny too is actually, I'll tell you another thing. Like, I'll give you a little hint with the for sale signs. If you're gonna do like the big signs, like the post signs, have someone install them for you, and make sure and give what I usually do is I put, this is a little tip and trick of the trade. Okay, put flags in the trunk of your car. Okay, and I hand it to the seller. I say, here, you place the flag where you want the sign. You know why? Do you know why? Because I did that after I bought a sprinkler system for someone, because I said to my sign guy, I said, yeah, just put it right there. Literally, there was a sprinkler line. So I said,
oh no.
And what happened was he crushed the sprinkler line, so I had to buy a whole new sprinkler system.
Oh, nuts.
So what happens is now I make the seller tell me exactly where the sign goes, so that if a sprinkler line's cut, I'm like, dude,
Old.
That was all on you. Not my. I always tell them, I go, "That's not my problem. That's not my problem." You know.
You're like, I heard the
So,
hard way, so you do it.
yeah, not my problem. So let's keep going. Let's take a look at another one.
Okay. When a claim is settled by a title insurance company, the company acquires all rights and claims of the insured against any other person who is responsible for the loss. This is known as subrogation. B.
Okay. Subrogation. Yeah, perfect. I don't need to go over that with you. Let's keep going.
Okay. If a principal terminates the listing agreement during the listing period, the broker may be able to do any of the following except. What can he do? He can collect a commission. Can't do.
What do you think on this one?
I'm thinking marketing expenses. No, you could do that. Continue to cooperate with any subsequent listing broker. It probably encourage the termination of the contract and process. You don't want to encourage the termination. It's collect a commission.
Well, no. What do you think?
Collect a commission for a transaction. Accept. I know.
Your favorite word?
I hate that word. So, okay, the principal terminates the listing agreement. During the listing period, the broker may be able to do any of the following except collect a commission.
Collect a commission.
I don't.
Encourage the termination of any. Do you understand why? You understand why?
Yes, I do. You never want to encourage the termination of any contract in process. I got to be more confident.
Let me ask you this. Listen, what I'm going to tell you. So what I'll tell you is this. Number one, you have exactly what it takes to pass the test. Number two, you have exactly what it takes to fail the test. It depends on what you do at the test.
Yeah.
You have both are in you. Like, you have it.
I appreciate that. Thank you. I need a little bit of confidence because I go in.
Listen. It's because here's the thing. I'm not going to sugarcoat it with you. I'm not going to tell you something that is not true, right? Because here's the thing. It really, like, the difference between you passing the test and failing the test is literally going to be the attitude that you bring to the table and how you think through the questions.
Okay.
Dude, that is it. There's no secret sauce. There's no anything. My recommendation is slow it down because you do not want to miss an accept, right? Because you will, right? You will, right?
Blood.
You don't want to miss one. If you could, try not to miss one. Okay. Then what I would tell you is this: try not to miss one, and what you want to do is this. You want to ask yourself, so what are the key words in this question? So, like, if it says, hey, promissory note, like, so what is promissory note? Okay, so why are you choosing that as the answer? So if you're doing that and you're saying, hey, why are we choosing this as the answer? Then what you want to do is you want to know why you're choosing this as the answer, okay? So, look, I wish you a lot of luck.
Thank
a lot of luck.
You. It's been great talking to you and working with you, and I really am taking everything you said, and I'm gonna work on it for sure.
Yeah, I mean, that's all it is. That's all it is to it. So, like I said, I do wish you a whole heck of a lot